What is up, everybody? Hi. I'm back again. As you can see, I'm totally chilling today. It's a Saturday morning, and I'm just being me. I needed to get this video out because I've been trying to get it up for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, and so um, I just want to go ahead and bust this out. What I'm going to be talking about today is a lot about the livestock or animal product industry. Okay. Um, the reason why this became really so personal to me is because I needed to lose weight. And so I started watching a couple of documentaries on different ideologies on the best way to lose weight. And so what I came across was a documentary talking about plant-based diets and how plant-based diets are really kind of the best way to go about losing weight, because that's kind of how our bodies are set up to be to function and fuel. We're not meant to eat as much animal product as we do today. In fact, when in the early days, meat was something that only the rich people uh, ate and could afford, and it was a luxury to be able to eat meat. And as industry grew and people were able to have higher incomes and everything, yeah, the consumption of animal product began to increase. So I came across this documentary called Hope. It says what you eat matters, and Hope stands for Healing of Planet Earth. It's a documentary from 2016 by Nina Messinger. Um, and you can find this video on Gaia if you have the Gaia streaming service. You can also find it on YouTube. This particular documentary has had over 2 million views as the last time that I checked it. So this there's a lot of science that is in this documentary, and so that's what I'm going to kind of be going over because this is the documentary that hit me hard. We've all had ideas about what goes on in the animal industry as far as butchering and living conditions of the animals. We're all familiar with PETA and their fight for you know animals to be respected and treated with respect and decency. Um, Going to a plant-based diet was something that I was never interested in. But once I saw this video, man, I tell you, I've never cried so hard on from watching anything. And it's something that really stuck to me. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to be putting up some pictures and diagrams and stuff of some things that could be disturbing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here at the first, because I'm not going to show you, really graphic imagery that this honestly that this documentary had because it was very truthful, and albeit most of the factories that were shown in this were in Europe, but these practices with slaughtering and how these animals live is also very true here in the US. It's just the European factories allowed the cameras to go in and film what's going on there. US factories won't allow that for obvious reasons. So I would challenge you guys to go watch this documentary, but I will tell you it is emotional, um, and it has stuck with me from the very first time that I saw it, and it's the main reason why I have gone down this route of being just about completely. plant-based. I am struggling with giving up some dairy, as far as eggs and yogurt, and trying to make um, that switch. But everything else has has gone away. So I haven't had any sort of meat product in over a month now. Um, and I'll tell you guys, in that month, I have lost close to 15 pounds. And that is simply from changing my diet, doing nothing else different other than eating more plant-based. The weight just melted off. It shocked me how much weight I lost and how easy it came off without me doing anything else. I do go to the gym 4 times a week if I'm lucky, and I just lift weights. I'm not a cardio person, and in fact, um, there's a lot of science out there saying that cardio is not the best way to go about losing weight. Um, so muscle burns fat more than cardio. So that's off the topic. But the point being is that in about the first 2 to 3 weeks of doing this, the weight started coming off extremely quickly. I felt much better, and I do feel much better. I feel more alert. I don't feel so foggy brained. My energy is good. I did struggle with feeling tired once I put a multivitamin into my diet. That went away. So I think I was lacking. B12 is one of the things that you can kind of lack in when you're going plant based, and so I just added a multivitamin, and I've been great. Um, I used to live in daily pain, joint pain. Being a former athlete and just getting older, my joints constantly hurt. I am not living in daily pain anymore. My joints don't hurt. My knees don't hurt. My wrists don't hurt. My back hasn't hurt as much anymore. So just by having almost a conscious check, from watching this documentary, it really did hit home to me. So I've gone on for almost 8 minutes now, but I want to get into the notes here. I got like 6 pages of notes. But I want to take you guys through this because a lot of this is stuff that we as a general population don't know. And it's stuff that you don't know unless you go and look for it or know to go and look for it. You know, anybody that knows me knows I work in the animal industry. I am a dog trainer. And so animals are very near and dear to me. Um, but I was a meat eater. I mean, I liked my meat. I like my chicken. I like my beef. I like my steaks. I like my hamburgers, ribs. You name it. I'm a meat eater. For me, eating pizza, the more meat you can put on there, the better. But I haven't missed it. Honestly, I have not missed having meat product at all. So, anyways, so the documentary it talks to a lot of different professionals. Two of the big ones that I've seen in multiple different documentaries is Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Dr. Colin Campbell. Um, Dr. Esselstyn is a surgeon researcher and he's an expert in heart disease. And Dr. Campbell is a nutritional biochemist. Okay. Um, so what Dr. Esselstyn's research has been around is showing that heart disease is basically a foodborne illness. And it's primarily from eating animal product. Um, and so what he has shown is that heart disease that is um, that our Western culture tends to be very prone to is because of our high high animal product diet. And so what that animal product does is it damages your endothelial cells. And so what your endothelial cells do is transport the nitric oxide that keeps your blood flowing. Okay. And so what heart disease is a progression of the damage of these cells. And so when we start eating a lot of animal product, what ends up happening is that plaque, that animal fat and byproduct from the consumption of animal product starts getting deposited into the cells or into the bloodstream. Okay. And so then it starts clogging up your arteries and whatnot. So one of the things that was really interesting that he pointed out is that in the Eastern cultures, there's really not heart doctors. There's not cardiac surgeons, and that's because they don't have the rate of heart disease or diabetes. Some of all these other uh, diseases that are linked to diet, they don't have that in the East in a lot of the Eastern cultures, and that's because a lot of the Eastern cultures have no animal product to very little animal product, and so they don't struggle with having the heart disease. Especially that Western cultures and specifically Americans have. So I find it funny that the what they call the American diet is the SAD diet, the standard American diet, SAD diet. So I just thought that was funny. Um, so what Dr. Campbell did, you remember Dr. Campbell is a nutritional biochemist, and so what he did was he did still to date the most comprehensive study, and it's called the China study. And what he was able to do, kind of going back to the difference between the Eastern cultures and the Western cultures, is he was able to show through this study, and I believe it was a 20-year study, that the increase in the consumption of animal product showed an increase in cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Okay, and so what he was able to do um, after he started after he did the study, what he did was a study with rats, and he did specifically dairy product. And so dairy contains what's called casein, and casein has been shown to cause a lot of inflammation in the body and especially the brain. And so casein is in your milk, your cheese, uh, yogurt, cottage cheese, those sorts of things. Um, a lot of protein powders for weightlifters and everything will have casein in it. So dairy products are full of saturated fats. Okay, and so what Dr. Campbell was able to do with this rat study was show that casein was a strong indicator or a strong promoter of the appearance of cancer. And so what he did with this rat study is that he had two groups of rats. In one group of rats, he gave a 20% casein rich diet. Okay, 20%. In the controlled rat group, just a regular diet, no casein. Okay. So what he was able to do is show that when he introduced that casein diet, the the markers for cancer started to go up. What he did was decide, what if I turn it down to 5% casein? That cancer indicator started to decrease. He then put it back up to 20% casein. And so what he was able to do was show a correlation or a direct relation to the amount of casein to the amount of cancer indicators that these rats were showing. And so he was literally able to turn on and off cancer in these rats. And so one of the things that that is also very known for with casein is casein is associated with acne, and specifically with drinking a lot of milk. A lot of milk has been associated with bad acne outbreaks. Migraines are also talking about the the inflammation in the brain. Migraines are associated with casein or eating dairy products. And this is because there's typically these reactions are an allergy reaction. Um, I can't remember the percentage, but there's a high percentage of non-Americans, people in Europe and other parts of the world that are lactose intolerant. And it's because we're not made to have as much animal or animal milk that we do. And especially cow milk. If you think about it, the milk from a cow, it has enough nutrients to feed a cat. That's what it's for. So the amount of the density of the saturated fats and everything that is in this in the cow milk is meant to sustain a calf for its growth, right? We weren't meant to consume as much milk in all its various forms that we do, and that's why there's such a high rate of of lactose intolerant people, especially in other countries where they don't have the introduction of cow milk. So um, what Dr. Campbell has been able to do is he has a facility where he works with people who have been diagnosed with cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and he puts them on this plant-based diet. And he has been able to reverse heart disease, reverse diabetes, and actually put people in remission who have been diagnosed with cancer. So really interesting stuff there, right? So the problem that these two doctors were discussed is that yeah, there's good evidence that the way that we eat as Americans, even a healthy diet that is promoted for Americans, um, is not really healthy. And so, like this known fact with dairy and the known facts with animal product, this is known, and but you won't hear about it unless you go look for it. The problem is these industries have their hands in politician pockets. And so, what is what is needed is an honest look at our nutrition. But if we did that, our livestock, cattle, poultry, pork, those industries would start to suffer. And those are really big industries. And so those would take a really hard hit. And so those those companies pay off these two doctors, talk about it. They pay off politicians and researchers to state the facts that benefit them, okay, which are not always the correct facts. Anybody who's done research knows if you want to go find something to prove your point, you likely can find it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the truth, okay. So you have to be very discerning and really look for the truth and not necessarily proving your own point. Okay. That's kind of how I ended up with the plant-based diet. I wasn't looking to do it. I started doing it just because I kind of wanted to see if it would help me lose weight. And then dang, I feel so much better. I didn't go looking for it. I didn't try to, if anything, I wanted to prove that eating, meat and dairy was the way to go. But I kind of did my own experiment, and kind of proved my own truth. Um, so one of the things that you know this documentary talks about is that with the amount of consumption that we have of animal products, our planet cannot sustain the production uh, of all this animal product. It's estimated that by 2050 there's going to be 9 billion people on the planet. The livestock population will grow to 50 billion. 50 billion. That's going to double in size from what it is now. Okay. So when you start thinking about this, there you got to start thinking about the resources that it takes in order to have that much um, that much animal product. Okay, they got to live somewhere, they got to be fed, all of that good stuff. All right, there's a doctor from India. Her name is Dr. Vandana Shiva. She's a physicist and the alternative Nobel laureate for India. And so she breaks down a lot of the resources that go into the animal product industry. Okay, and so in reality, most of the grain that is grown across the world goes to feed livestock. Okay, um, so the there's only about 2% of the soil in the world that is used for human consumption. Nearly 70% of the soil in the world uh, is used for animal feed, and then about 28% is for biofuel. Um, 10% of the uh, corn stock in the world is for feed for livestock, um, and so there's a huge amount of our land that is being used simply to feed the amount of livestock that the world requires in order to keep up the amount of animal product that we consume. Um, so when you think about that, um, how little of all the grain and the agricultural land is being used for human consumption is very, very minimal. Okay. And when you place that against there's about 1.8 billion people starving in the world. Um, they cited that every 6 seconds a child dies from malnutrition. That's 15,000 kids a day that are starving. And what is it? 70% of the 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 farmed land is being used for animal feed. Only 2% is used for human consumption. And we have 15,000 kids a day dying from malnutrition. Um, it's unconscionable. Um, I can't wrap my head around that. I had no idea the amount of land that we were using for simply feeding livestock. Um, yeah, they're tearing down rainforests in order to have more land to farm. Um, They stated that over the past 2 decades, 20% of the rainforests have been destroyed, um, which equals down to every 2 seconds. The size of a soccer field is subject to deforestation. Um, so we're destroying our rainforest, which clean our air, right? We need the rainforest to clean out the CO2, the carbon dioxide in the air, to have land to grow grain, so that we can keep up with this huge amount of animal uh, product that we consume. So you can see how we're just not only destroying ourselves, um, but our planet. Our planet cannot keep up. And if we can't keep our planet up, if we can't keep our planet alive and in balance, there's no way in hell the human population is going to be able to continue to survive. Because we're destroying our planet, and we're destroying ourselves. Um, there another doctor that works for he's an agricultural expert for Greenpeace, Martin Hofstetter. He kind of broke down some of the CO2 production, methane gas, and everything that comes from um, the livestock industry. And I'm going to put up some graphics over my talking, so that you can kind of see, because I'm going to spout off some numbers, and that way you're going to be able to kind of have an idea as I talk about things. Um, but when it comes to CO2 production, 1 kilogram of beef yields about 12 to 13 kilograms of CO2. So carbon uh, dioxide is produced from 1 kilogram. So 1 kilogram equals 12 to 13 kilograms of CO2. That's produced simply from the the coming from the feed to the slaughter to the in production of what you get at the store. One pound, or sorry, 1 kilogram. Okay. Um, One of the other huge sources of byproduct that comes from, especially from cattle, is methane gas. So methane gas is 25% more detrimental to the ozone, to the environment and the ozone layer than CO2 is. Okay, so that's 25% more detrimental. Um, and so the the methane gas is from um, the rear end of a cow. Okay, so the defecation, the gas that is produced from the cow, that all of that is producing methane gas. So the environment, especially around where these uh, commercial cattle farms are extremely dangerous. Um, so there's also the use of nitrous oxide that is produced from synthetic fertilizers. Nitrous oxide is 300% more harmful than CO2. And all of these contribute to the climate change. So all these gases, the carbon dioxide, the methane gas, the nitrous oxide from using synthetic fertilizer, they all contribute to the climate change. Um, so when you talk about, especially the cattle industry, they were talking about, for each kilogram of beef that is produced, 6 kilograms of slurry. So slurry is basically cow feces mixed with water. Okay, it's how it's when they clean everything out of the area, or or it's what is running off of the field, where these um, commercial farms are located. And so there's 6 kilograms of this slurry for every kilogram of beef that is produced. 6 kilograms of the slurry is produced. The slurry releases ammonia. Okay, and ammonia causes long-term damage to the soil. Um, the slurry is often also used to water the fields, and so some of that crop that is being grown for various reasons is getting basically poop water sprayed on it in order to fertilize it, water it, that sort of thing. It's how the farmers use get rid of the slurry. And again, this is all on uh, mainly from commercial farms. Um, and again, this documentary focused on mainly European factories, but I looked into it, and a lot of these practices are also used here in the United States. They broke down the water consumption. So, in places, especially where water is limited or scarce, or using the water for the production of animal product um, can be detrimental. So to kind of give you an idea, going from simply eggs, one kilogram of eggs um, produces or it, 1 kilogram of eggs needs 3,300 liters of water. Um, 1 kilogram of chicken needs 3,900 liters of water. A pound of pork or a kilogram of pork, 4,800 liters of water is needed to produce that um, to produce pork. A kilogram of cheese takes 5,000 liters of water to produce. Um, and a kilogram of beef takes 15,500 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of beef. Um, to produce 1 kilogram of grain takes 1,300 liters of water. 1 kilogram of potato, 900 liters of water. 1 kilogram of apples, 700 liters of water. So when you compare the amount of water that is needed to produce 1 kilogram of egg, chicken, pork, beef, um, dramatically much more water is needed to produce just 1 kilogram of those products compared to 1 kilogram of grain, potato, apple, the plant-based products. The water needed between the two is very drastic. And so again, think about areas that don't have a lot of water. There's water scarcity. And there's cattle, or there's livestock product that is being produced there. A lot of the water is being used simply to produce that animal product. Whereas if they were growing plants, fruits, vegetables, grains, a lot less water would be used in that production. Um, so with that kind of gives you an idea, about the a little bit about the climate, when it comes to water, the soil, um, and kind of some connection between the diet and diseases. Um, I may do another video with some of that, but I'm going to kind of go into this is where some of the more graphic information is going to be is going to be talked about. And this is talking about the living conditions, the process from the farm to slaughter to the table. And again, this is in commercial farming. So in commercial farming, um, these animals are not seen as living beings. They are merely a product. They are no different than a tin can uh, of beans, or tin can of uh, buttons. They are simply a product, um, just a thing to be used to make money. They are not seen as a living thing that has feelings, emotions, needs, other than being fed. And even then, the feed is not, it's not necessarily nutritional. It's feed in order to fatten up um, whatever product it is. So, whether it's fattening up cattle or fattening up a pig, um, growing chickens that have breasts that are too large for the chickens to be able to move. So it's all about the getting the animal as fat as possible and as quickly as possible. Um, so I'm going to kind of go through the different industries that this documentary talked about. Um, so what they started out first with talking about was the chicken farms. And if anybody has been down in, especially here in Oklahoma, into southeastern Oklahoma, you'll see the chicken farms down there. I think we all kind of have an idea of what chicken farms look like. They're, the long metal buildings that are just basically wall to wall chickens. These chickens never see daylight. They are in those buildings for the entirety of their life. They are in their own feces. There is a high death rate, and so they are living among um, other chickens that have died. Um, they are again they are um, produced or fed to and given hormones to have bigger breasts than what they are supposed to have. And this is so that we can, consumers can have, those big, plumpy chicken breasts, to consume. But what this does to the chicken is that the 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 breast grows too quickly and grows too big, and the chicken can't support the chicken's legs and its body can't support the weight of the breast. And so what ends up happening is these chickens become immobile. Um, they simply can't move around, and what you end up getting is uh, at the table is the chickens that happen to make it. Um, I had my own really nasty encounter with uh, frozen chicken. I got some chicken tenders, frozen chicken tenders from Walmart, and at this point, I had started to kind of wean out eating meat. And so I was making some chicken strips for our son Kyler, and again they were frozen. So I threw them in the pot, cooked them and everything. And as I was cutting them up after cooking them, I cut into what there was green fibrous something in that breast or in that tender. Um, and what it looked like was the stem of cooked broccoli. That's what it looked like. Um, I cut that part off and just kind of confused. I didn't give Kai that tender, and I looked it up. Looked at what in the world is this green stuff? In my 40 plus years, I've never seen that in any sort of chicken. Um, so what it actually is dead tissue. It's tissue that has started to have uh, necropathy. I think that's how you say it. It's tissue that is dying, and the tissue is dying because the breast has grown so big that it cuts off blood supply. And so what ends up happening is that that tissue starts to die, and that's what that discoloration is. Most of the time, guys, this is caught in the production when they're slaughtering and uh, packaging the meat. It's usually caught and cut off. So you could be eating, flesh that was like right next to this, decaying tissue, and never know it. But it was definitely something that kind of helped me along in my own journey. Um, so that's just another way that these chickens are suffering. Their muscle tissue is literally decaying because it's not able to get the blood supply that it's supposed to. uh, Excuse me. When it comes to lifespan, and the normal lifespan of a chicken is 20 years. In the chicken farm industry, broilers, which are what they use for meat consumption, they live 42 days. So in 42 days, those chickens have to grow the breast meat to the size that we consumers are wanting them. Okay, think about that. That is massive growth. When you think about the size of a baby chicken, um, and in 42 days, it has to grow to the size of the breast that we're used to getting at the store. 42 days. And so that's basically they're having to put on 2 kilograms of weight in that amount of time. Okay. So massive growth. And in 42 days, they're killed. Um, they go to the slaughterhouse to be cut and bagged and all of that good stuff. So 42 days. When it comes to pork production, so um, pigs, this was one of the ones that really got to me. I mean, with the chickens, you could definitely see, in the chicken farms that these chickens were sad. They were stressed. They were highly stressed because they're so crammed in there. Um, with the pigs, you could really see in their eyes how depressed, how sad, how stressed these animals are in these conditions, in these living conditions. Um, Pigs are highly intelligent animals. Um, they are sensitive animals. Um, their intelligence is can be they can be just as intelligent as a dog and sometimes smarter than a lot of dogs. They are social animals. Um, you can teach a pig a lot of different things, and they have very close kind of family units, especially with their piglets. Um, so adult pigs live in cages that are barely larger than themselves. They live on a concrete floor. Um, they have about 20 to 30 centimeters to move backwards and forwards. They don't have the space to turn around. Um, they have about 30 to 40 centimeters to go side to side. So they're not able to really move at all. Um, they are simply there to fatten up. Um, the welfare of this animal means nothing. Um, when it comes to sows, so sows are the female pigs. Um, sows in nature typically build a soft bedding for their piglets to be on. In commercial um, farms, um, sows are put in gestation crates. And so gestation crates are crates where the sow is living on their side, and they are basically pinned down by this cage, um, where they are not able to care for their young, other than having their udders exposed so that the piglets can feed. Um, that is the sole purpose. Um, is to just feed the piglets. And they live on they just live on their side until it's time for them to have, to be impregnated again and go through the whole process again. Um, Male piglets are castrated shortly after birth, within a couple of days after birth. Um, Again, because these animals are seen as product, they are castrated by um, simply slicing open their scrotum and pulling out their testicles. Um, that was one of the hardest things to watch, because they literally show that process, um, and you hear these piglets screaming their heads off. There's no time um, for using anesthesia or painkillers or doing anything with sanitation. Um, they're just ripped out, sliced open and ripped out. And there's really no aftercare. So if there's an infection that sets in or whatnot, so be it. They don't have the time because they have to move the product through. Um, and they're obviously trying to maximize profit, and so um, antibiotics and that aftercare and pain medication and all of that is just expense that is seen as not necessary. Uh, After 3 weeks, piglets are separated from the sow, um, and they're slaughtered at 6 months. Um, um, in in nature, um, pigs have a lifespan of 25 years, but most are killed at 6 months. Um, and in that time, it they want the pig to reach about 110 kilograms. So the living space that these piglets have in those 6 months is about 0.75 square meters of space. Um, 0.75 square meters of space for 110 kilogram pig. So again, they got them crammed in there to maximize the number of animals that they're able to have in you know uh, the least amount of space possible. Um, they stated that. nearly 40%, I believe, yeah, uh, don't survive the conditions because they're so bad. Um, so I'm sorry if I get a little emotional with going through this, but if you don't, then I truly think that there's something wrong with you, because especially if you do challenge yourself and watch the documentary with cows. So cattle, they live in very narrow stalls um, where they're tethered, and they have enough space to take about a step forward and a step back. Um, Again, not a lot of space, but they're tethered to be there at their feed bucket and just eat, just pack on pounds. Um, in normal condition, I'm going to say normal conditions, natural conditions where a cow is able to live out their lives, they have a lifespan of about 30 years. In the commercial industry, dairy cows live for about 5 years. Beef livestock, about 18 months. And veal, which everybody knows is baby cows, they only lived about 5 months. Okay. So they're not even living out half their life in these commercial farms. They are slaughtered very early. Um, Infections are a big issue when it comes to cattle farms, and that's because of overbreeding, the cramped living spaces, which are unclean. We talked about the slurry earlier. Um, so because of that, that's why there's a lot of antibiotics that are being used in the cattle industry, um, kind of prophylactically. Um, they stated that nearly three-quarters of all the antibiotics that are produced go towards factory farms. Um, so this is a great concern when it comes to different infections becoming antibiotic resistant because these animals are getting antibiotics, and so that goes into the tissue, the muscle tissue, and so we're consuming that. Um, and so what ends up happening is with so much use, these different infections and diseases or whatnot become resistant to antibiotic, and so they got to change the antibiotic. That filters into us as well. They stated that nearly 700,000 people annually die from antibiotic resistant infections. So we've all heard about these superbugs it's I'm gonna say super infections because I don't know the correct term for it, but these infections that people get that don't respond to antibiotics, and that's because not only are we overusing antibiotics in people, but we're using using and overusing antibiotics in our livestock and animal product production, um, instead of working to have more sanitary and healthy living conditions, they just treat the animals with antibiotics. Um, when I was watching this documentary, um, it's very clear that most of the cruelty that happens to animals, I would say, is way worse in these factory farms than anywhere else. Um, these animals, again, you can see in their eyes how scared, how stressed, how sick these animals are in these conditions. and it just breaks your heart. Um, when they were talking about the calves from cows. So after birth, the calves are taken away 24 to 72 hours after birth, and that's so the milk can be collected for human consumption. So the calf doesn't really even get the opportunity to nurse off mom. Um, uh, Cows have a very strong connection to their calves, and so they will mourn the loss of their calf, and for days and sometimes weeks, they will bellow for their calf. They miss their calf. They want their calf. Um, and the calf also bellows looking for their mom. Now think about this: cows carry calves for 9 months, the same amount of time that humans do. It would be unconscionable for a baby to be taken away from its mom 24 to 72 hours with no explanation. And we do that to cows. And it is, they have studies showing that cows have emotion, they have empathy, they, and again, they have a social network. Cows will babysit calves for other cows. And so it's just heart wrenching when you hear these cows bellowing for their calves, and you can only imagine how scared the calves are. Um, they go through and talk about how each of these animals, cows, pigs, chickens, all have some sort of degree of understanding when it comes to um, pain, um, seeing a another animal sick or die. Um, they have the even chickens have been proven to show empathy, and so they aren't just things. These they're living, breathing, feeling creatures that are not getting even an ounce of respect in their life. They're merely a product for us to eat. Um, so the kind of talked about the living conditions, right? Um, Obviously, these animals have to go to slaughter, and that looks different for each industry. Um, I will tell you that I looked at the um, acceptable um, uh, techniques for slaughter here in the U.S. compared to what was on the video, um, and they are the same. The so what I'm going to talk about with how with what they showed on the factory farms in Europe, they are the same accepted procedures for slaughter here in the U.S. Um, so cattle is they use electric prods to um, get the cattle up on the trailer. All of us have driven by cattle trailers, know how much they stink and how nasty they are. Um, so they're taken to the slaughter facility, where again they are prodded with electric prods and batons in order to get them off the trailer and into the chutes to take them to, to guide them to the area where they're slaughtered. Um, they use basically any means necessary. The In the video they show, especially the younger cows, probably the calves that are being used for veal. These workers were pulling them by their ears to drag them off the trailer, or to move them through the facility. They were drugged by their legs. One worker talked about seeing the bulls being, or the males being kicked in the testicles. The udders were pulled on females. Again, they're doing anything and everything to just make the animal move along the assembly line, so to speak. Um, Pigs are stunned through electric shock. Um, they use either a stun machine, or they have a device that has almost like two tongs that they put around the neck of the pig, and it sends an electric shock. It immediately makes the pig go down. Um, what it basically does is it puts the pig in almost in kind of an epileptic attack. It renders them unconscious so that they can then move the pig to where it's getting processed. Um, you hear the animal screaming, especially when it comes to the tong type stunning. The pigs are running from the person that is trying to stun them. Sometimes it takes the person two or three times to stun the same animal. Um, so the stunning is one of the main ways that they do it. The other cost effective way is using a gas chamber. Um, and again, it's done here as well. Um, the gas chambers use carbon dioxide, um, and basically what that does is it suffocates the pigs. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds for the animal to become unconscious. Um, the problem with using CO2 is that they have to move quickly, otherwise the CO2 will start to reverse. But in the video, they showed these pigs climbing over each other, trying to get to the top of the gas chamber to get air. Uh, you see how frightened they are. Um, so they have to move these pigs quickly, whether they're stunned or um, used in the gas chamber. So they have to work very quickly to go from that to um, slashing their throat to let them bleed out before they wake up. Um, they go from the means of rendering them unconscious, having their throat slashed, and then they're dunked into a boiling cauldron. Um, if that pig, if they take too long to get a pig through the process, sometimes that pig goes into that cauldron of boiling water still alive. Um, Again, unconscionable. Um, they talked about one of the largest pork facilities there in Europe, does 750 pigs an hour. 750 pigs an hour. So what that boils down to is about 5 seconds to get the pig from where they have been rendered unconscious, put the pig into correct position for them to then hang the pig by their hock, um, take their knife out and slash the pig's throat. Um, so 5 seconds for all of that to happen before the pig starts to wake up. So the talked about, if they don't do it right or do it quick enough, um, sometimes they don't hit the right vessels to make the big pig bleed out quick enough. One worker talked about experiencing or seeing pigs fleeing from the cauldron that has boiling water because it wasn't dead before it went into the vat, and so it was trying to escape. Um, there's no way in that, having 5 seconds to do all that, that there's not air, um, and I would think a lot of air. Um, in chicken farms, they they run about 10,000 an hour, 10,000 chickens an hour in the larger facilities. In Germany's largest um, chicken farm, they produce 27,000 an hour. So that means they're going through 432,000 chickens a day. Um, think about that number. 432,000 chickens a day in Germany alone. That's a lot of chicken. Um, One of the harder things to watch was how they how they the go through cattle in their slaughter. Um, the most effective, efficient, I guess, way is using what's called a bolt stunner. Um, so what happens is the cow is guided down a chute. It has a contraption that restrains it, um, and there's the device that's called a bolt stunner or a captive bolt gun, and it's put right between the eyes or middle of the forehead, basically, um, and it shoots a bolt into the cow's brain, and it basically destroys the brain, and it causes intracranial pressure, which makes the cow immediately drop. Um, Again, this is done here as well, guys. Um, these cows are basically put into a grand mal seizure is basically what they kind of described it as. Um, it's just it's when they go wrong, when they don't hit the right spot, the cow is obviously suffering, um, and they have to redo it. They have to shoot the cow again, and a lot of times that doesn't work because the um, the intracranial pressure that makes the first shot acceptable or successful is not there because the skull is open. Um, this happens in about 9% of the processing, and that's according to the Federal Ministry of Food in Germany. The misstunning of pigs is about 12.5%. So it's a little higher in the stunning of pigs. Um, so they talked about worldwide, there's about 65 billion animals slaughtered annually for human consumption. That means more than 2,000 animals per second are slaughtered for human consumption. Um, the other approved method in the U.S. for slaughtering um, is through gunshot, and it has to be a single shot to the skull. Um, and again, these are from the electronic code of federal regulations. You can look it up online. That's what I did to see if these things were approved here in the U.S. Um, these methods are shocking, especially when you see them. Like I said, this documentary was very graphic with their footage in the slaughterhouses, um, and even in the actual farm facilities. I had no idea. I couldn't have even imagined uh, some of the things that they do to these animals for um, processing. Um, Even though it's a very hard film to watch, again, I highly encourage you guys to go watch it. Again, it's called Hope. What you eat matters. Um, we have to be more conscious. I'm not saying that everybody has to go plant based, but certainly decreasing the amount of meat product or animal product that we consume helps. You know, everyone, every person can make a difference because there's one person here, there's one person there, there's another person and another person, and before you know it, there's a lot of people on the same movement. Um, so, like I said, this wasn't something that I came into with the purpose of being plant based. I was just trying to figure out how to lose weight. Um, and knowing that a lot of our food that we have here in the US is not healthy. Even healthy food is not healthy. And so I started watching documentaries, and this one, like I said, really got to me. Things don't really stick with me, as my wife would be the first to attest. There's a lot of things that don't stick. But this one, what this documentary stuck with me on a conscious level, on an emotional level, and like I said, I still do eat eggs, and um, and yogurt, and there's obviously a lot of cognitive dissonance there because I know I need to stop, and I feel guilty every time that I eat them. Um, but I can't in good conscience. I couldn't continue to eat the way that I had eaten my whole life. after knowing how these facilities treat the animals from birth through the slaughter. Um, I just couldn't have there's no way I could have imagined, um, bolt stunning or electric shock, um, and to also think about these animals living in very stressful conditions. We all know what stress does to us, um, and the cortisol levels and the hormones that are produced through living in stress. That all gets put into the meat, and so you're eating an animal that is stressed out. Uh, that tissue is stressed out, and um, that means there's high cortisol in that tissue. Um, I know Talina is going to be uh, putting up a video, I believe, with Brahmanyani, talking about the karmic debt, from eating animal product, because it is another living being. They do have, um, there is a soul there, and we each have to rectify that in our own way. Some will, some won't. But one thing is for certain is that the way that we are eating, we're going to eat ourselves out of this planet. We're destroying it, in so many different ways. The the animal product industry is just one facet of how we're destroying our planet. Um, but it's also destroying our health. Um, think about it, guys. The health industry doesn't make money if we are healthy. If we are a healthy population, hospitals don't make money. Health insurance companies don't make money. Pharmaceutical companies don't make money. So there's no benefit in our population being healthy when it comes to these corporations, to these industries. They need us to be a sick population. They need us to have heart disease, diabetes, cancer. You look at other countries, especially in the East, they don't have these things. They don't allow a lot of the stuff in their food production that our country allows. Um, I'm gonna try to do a video over how a lot of the products that we eat here that are shipped uh, overseas into other countries, they changed the formula to meet the standards in those countries because those countries don't allow the preservatives and colorings and other preservatives and things that we put in our food here. They don't allow that in their food system. So the companies change their product to meet those standards, but they continue to put it in our food supply. Um, and the FDA doesn't do a whole hell of a lot to regulate because, again, deep pockets, these big industries are controlling everything. The FDA is funded through these corporations. And so, again, it boils down to it, they don't make money if we're healthy. Um, so it benefits, the health industry. Um, it benefits the food industry to have, sugar and everything so that we stay addicted to, the junk food. It's been shown, it's been studied time and time again how addictive sugar is. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Um, and that's been proven time and time again in studies. So our our government is truly there to just keep us in a state of disease and addiction. Um, so, anyways, I'm just continuing on in a tangent, going down a rabbit hole. But if you've watched till now, till the end of this, I thoroughly appreciate it. I hope you've learned some stuff. I hope you take the challenge and watch the documentary yourself, and understand that what they are showing you, even though it's in Europe, it's happening here too. It's just that the U.S. industry, the U.S. farms and facilities won't allow cameras in to see it, because because of the outcry that would happen. Um, it shocked the heck out of me that the facilities in Europe allowed the cameras in there, and the workers seeming to not care that, the way that they were treating these animals were being filmed. Uh, but I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for watching and continuing to support this mission. Like I said, I'm doing um, I'm doing videos and giving information that is kind of on a different rung of holistic healing solutions. Um, but go check out things yourself, guys. I'm not going to tell you anything that you can't go and find yourself. So go do your own research and see what you come up with, because I guarantee you, if you do if you do unbiased research, you're going to be shocked. All right. And it's not always in a good way. So I'm going to get off here for now, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.